Yes, to go off, and you press this one. See where the light is? That one? That's the switch, you can put it off. Okay? When you finish everything, you press, if there's any crosses up here, you press them. Then you just press that one. Last resort, you press that.
Hare Krishna, Prem.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances at your lotus feet. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. We are extremely delighted, honored, privileged to have you and Pankajangri Prabhu in our online Sangha. I just would like to introduce you briefly. So His Grace Jananivas Prabhu, they are His Grace Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu. They are ISKCON Mayapur's most beloved and long-standing residents. The two transcendental brothers were born in England and came to India in search of the absolute truth in 1970. After studying many different philosophies, Jananivas Prabhu received a copy of Bhagavad Gita as it is while traveling alone in Jagannath Puri. He then joined the ISKCON temple in Kolkata and was initiated by Srila Prabhupada. His brother Pankajangri Prabhu followed shortly after in 1971. In 1972, when the first International God Purnima festival was held in Srila Mayapur, Jananivas Prabhu arrived to cook for the devotees. Later in 1972, Prabhuji received his second initiation and was given Pujari service. He began serving as a Pujari when the Mayapur project was just beginning and has been serving here ever since in Mayapur. He was instructed by Srila Prabhupada in deity worship and was also requested by Srila Prabhupada to train devotees in deity worship. His sincerity and devotion are a true example to the entire Vaishnava community. He is the spiritual head and inspiration behind the Mayapur Academy. Srila Prabhupada once remarked, the two brothers, Pankajangri and Jananivas, there is no comparison. Everyone should know there is no complaint. This is described in the Transcendental Diary by Hariswari Prabhu. In addition to teaching at the Mayapur Academy, Prabhuji has also been instrumental in assisting the TOP fundraising team, carrying Lord Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet all over the world. Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu are the head pujaris of ISKCON Mayapur and continually inspire both the Mayapur and worldwide ISKCON community at large with their guidance, realizations, and example of humble and loving devotional service. Pankajangri Prabhu received his first initiation in 1973 at Bhaktivedanta Manor in the UK. He came to Mayapur in 1974 during the God Purnima festival. It was then he received his second initiation and engaged in assisting his brother Jananivas Prabhu in deity worship services. He has been serving Sri Dham Mayapur ever since. He currently serves as a facilitator at the Mayapur Academy, an institution committed to Brahminical training. Pankajangri Prabhu formerly served at Srila Prabhupada Samadhi, but when Lord Narasimhadev arrived at Mayapur, he was designated as head pujari for Lord Narasimhadev. His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu also served on the Mayapur Administrative Council for 10 years. Known for his friendly dealings with devotees and his wonderful sense of humor, Pankajangri Prabhu enchants devotees with his incredible accounts of Lord Jagannath Baldev Subhadra and Lord Narasimhadev's very personal dealings with the devotees at Sridham Mayapur. So we are extremely honored and we have been graced directly by Sri Radha Madhav Panchtattva, Lord Narasimhadev and their associates by having His Grace Jananivas Prabhu and His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu. Not many devotees are aware of their scholastic aptness and expertise also, along with all the great, wonderful services they are rendering. And they are also so deeply and loyal to Srila Prabhupada. And everyone in ISKCON knows, they have heard about their exemplary humility. They are always available to serve any devotee, irrespective of any seniority or juniority. His guest Jananivas Prabhu has personally answered many questions which I had on Tattva and philosophy, and he has also encouraged me to cultivate deep faith in Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada many times spoke on the secret of success, which is to have implicit faith in Guru and Krishna simultaneously. And so we will be enlightened by His Grace Jananivas Prabhu and Pankajangri Prabhu on the same topic. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Please take over.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prem Das. Where are you? Where are you living? You're in India?
From Mumbai, Prabhuji. Mumbai. Yeah.
Oh, you're in Mumbai. Where?
Yes.
Radha Gopinath or
Yeah,
Rasbihari?
connected to Radha Gopinath temple, but I live close to the Jew temple.
Okay. So this meeting is for who? Specifically?
Sorry.
The meeting?
Yeah, you can start, Prabhuji.
Okay. So you wanted me to speak on the importance and implicit faith in Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Implicit faith. Well, Srila Prabhupada was the one who installed faith in us because he actually he himself knows Krishna, he knows the truth. And nobody else knew the truth. Nobody was coming forward. So Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, he told us that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We were searching for the absolute truth, but Prabhupada said, here is Krishna, here is your absolute truth. Krishna, here's Krishna's activities, Krishna's pastimes. This is where Krishna lives, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are his friends, these are his girlfriends, these are his Jasodananda, there's mother and father are there, the cows are there, the whole of Vrindavan is there. Krishna, Prabhupada revealed all this. We've not even heard of any of this before. I'm not from India, but the first time I heard Krishna's name, or Krishna, I was must have been about 27 years old. 26, 27 years old. That's the first time I'd heard Krishna. And that was due to Prabhupada's grace because they made that record of Hare Krishna, and that was became very popular in Europe and London. And so we was hearing that being played all the time, that Hare Krishna record. And it became famous all over Europe. So so this is Prabhupada revealed all this. He revealed Navadvip, Gauranga Mahaprabhu, the pastimes of Panchatattva, gave us direct service to Krishna and Mahaprabhu's mission, told us all of his ambitions and his desires to please the previous acharyas. But nobody else was telling us anything. Nobody, because they didn't know anything. That's why they couldn't be positive on who is God or what is God. But Prabhupada revealed everything. Not only that, he said, here, I put your service for God, you can have service. Why? Because you are the servants of Krishna, so this is what you need. Nobody else ever told us that before. You know why? Because nobody likes to think that I am a servant. We're here in this material world because we want to be master. So nobody is preaching, you are servant of Krishna. So you see all the different types of systems that we have. These The path of bhakti is the only one who's teaching us to become servants. All the others, they're interested in something for themselves, some kind of bliss. If they're materialistic, it's bliss of material sense gratification. If they're Gyan is transcendentalist, they're interested in the bliss of Brahman. The yogis are interested in in the bliss of cities, and but nobody is offering service or telling us we are the servants of Krishna. So this is why we have faith, because Prabhupada revealed everything to us. He revealed the spiritual world, and revealing that not only is he's revealing the spiritual world, but he's giving this process how we can go back home, back to Godhead. That was Prabhupada's logo, back to Godhead. No one else was doing that. They never had a conception of back to Godhead, where people serve there. They better have one more of a conception of just the bliss of Brahman, so they could just immerse themselves in the so-called happiness of Brahman. So Prabhupada cleared everything up very nicely. So there's one purport in Bhagavad Gita, I can't quite remember now, but Prabhupada says, he's giving a description of the Supreme Lord and his pastimes, and he says in the purport that one should be enthralled, I think he uses that word, one should be enthralled to hear this. This is all new stuff. Prabhupada was revealing all this. So it was all new. It was all new to us, but it was made simple. So that's the faith, that implicit faith we have in Prabhupada, because he told us what no one else was telling us. No more birth in the material world. These are all Prabhupada's contributions to the world. He's saying these different sayings of Prabhupada. So, yeah, back to Godhead. That was the motto. No more births again in the material world. Prabhupada said in the Krishna book, I think it's the description of autumn at the end of that chapter. He said, Prabhupada said, when a great soul comes, by his calling, do again people who are bewildered in this material world again take up studying the Vedas. By his calling. So it was like that. I don't know so much now, but in the 60s, there was that feeling that a calling was there. Prabhupada was calling, and those fortunate people could approach him. But it was like that. It was like some mystical thing was happening, and Prabhupada was calling by his presence. By his presence, Prabhupada was calling again the forgetful living souls. He's calling them back to studying the Vedas. So it was like that when Prabhupada was here. It was just like when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here 500 years ago. That time in Europe, it was called the Renaissance period. And during that time, all the great cathedrals were being built there, all great artists and musicians but all God-centered stuff, you know, beautiful monasteries and churches, and so this was due to the presence of Mahaprabhu. He was, the same time he was here, starting his Sankirtan mission. So he pushed up the whole consciousness. So similarly when Srila Prabhupada was here, it was like that. By his presence, he was calling, and he pushed up the whole consciousness, and all of a sudden, Krishna was there in our lives, and before we had never heard of him. I asked my friend, what is Krishna? And they said that, I think it means the Indian alphabet, which it is. Krishna is everything, of course. But that was our understanding. And then Prabhupada started to push the consciousness up, and then we became interested in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very philosophical book. And again, I asked one of my friends, what is this Bhagavad Gita? Because he was saying you should read the Bhagavad Gita. I said, what is the Bhagavad Gita? Is it like a Bible or something like that? He said, I don't know. He said, I've been advised that you should read this book. So we didn't even know Krishna. We didn't know Bhagavad. We didn't know anything. So Prabhupada was to come by his calling. He's brought all the living entities back together again to study the Vedas. There is a prediction in the Bhavishya Purana. And it said that in the Kali Yuga, a saffron-clad man will come and he will teach the Vedas in the language of the Malechas. A saffron-clad man will come and teach the Vedas in the language of the Malechas. Prabhupada said English was the Malecha language. And he will initiate with fire. We saw that Prabhupada, he would initiate when the devotees get the holy name, Krishna, they got the fire sacrifice. Generally, the system is that they may get a name or a pet name, like Gaudiya Math, they say you get a pet name, and then later on, when you get the initiation, you get second initiation same time. This is all done to a fire sacrifice. But Prabhupada, he initiated people into the holy name with fire. This is something unique. Usually, they initiate for the like the Brahma Gayatris and they require fire initiation, but the pet name it's not required. But when Prabhupada initiated, he used fire for Harinam. In other words, Prabhupada saw that the holy name actually is superior than all the other mantras, Gayatri mantras and things like that. So Prabhupada used fire for the holy name to show the importance of it. I don't know, just speaking. But anyway, it's there in the Bhavishya Purana. So all the different realizations I had, they all made perfect sense when I read Prabhupada's books. And they didn't make much sense previously. I had a Bhagavad Gita, I had not Prabhupada's one, but when I came to India, I bought a Bhagavad Gita before I left. And later on, I got another one. And Pankajangri had one he bought from Gorakhpur Press. They were distributing a lot of little Gitas. And Pankajangri had one. So I had three. I put three all together, three Bhagavad Gitas, and I would read all three. Actually, the system Prabhupada used. I'm not comparing myself to Prabhupada, but Prabhupada did use that system. He would have the commentaries of Srila Maharaj and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Baladeva. And Prabhupada would have all these books, same shloka, and then he would read each shloka and what the acharyas said on each shloka. Then Prabhupada would condense all that, and that became the Prabhupada purport. It's a collection of all the essences of all the different acharyas' commentaries on that particular verse. So that what attention Srila Prabhupada gave to give us these books. All I got was a headache when I was reading those books, but as soon as I read Prabhupada's Gita, I met the devotees in Jagannath Puri. It happened to be Rath Yatra. I didn't know, but some another Lord Jagannath took me to Rath Yatra, and I was during the festival of Rath Yatra, so I was able to get the mercy of Lord Jagannath and pull his cart, and even though I didn't know what I was doing. What we were saying about Prabhupada was, what the attention that Srila Prabhupada gave in his books. And in his verses, once, I think it's Hayagriva, he was Prabhupada's editor, English editor. And he was editing the Bhagavad Gita. And he said to Srila Prabhupada in this translation in Bhagavad Gita, in this verse, this shloka, you're using exactly the same wording as the one Mayavadi who has also written Bhagavad Gita. You're using exactly the same translation as this Mayavadi philosopher who had written the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada just, that's okay, he said. Any translation will do. He said, but what is needed is the Vaishnava purpose. That is what is lacking in the world today, the Vaishnava purpose. And anyway, the translation, you have the original there, so translation is not so important. You have the original Sanskrit there. But the Vaishnava purpose, this is what is lacking in the material world. So this was Prabhupada's, the importance that Prabhupada gave to is that he said to Bhavananda Prabhu, who was the president at that time in Mayapur. And Srila Prabhupada said, I get very much disturbed at night. The devotees are sleeping in this building. It's a lotus building. And they leave the windows open, the doors open because it's hot. But then in the night time, the wind comes and it starts to slam the windows and doors. It's so much interferes with my translation work. He said, sometimes I'm waiting for one word. It's the right word that conveys the meaning of the previous acharyas' commentaries. I just want waiting for one word to give that proper meaning, the proper feeling. And sometimes, he said, it takes me 3 days 3 days to get that one word that I can put in the purple. So this was the amount of attention and that Prabhupada put in these books. One word, he said, 3 days. So when I hear these doors slam, he said, it cracks my heart. So, yeah, so Prabhupada installed all this faith in us by his own activities. No one can compare him to Prabhupada's activities on this planet. Because Prabhupada is coming with the from this bona fide sampradaya. So Prabhupada, we have faith in this, which he is installing us. As the founder Acharya, he's given us so much faith. And what was I going to say? Because of the parampara, a bona fide process of handing down knowledge from disciples, from guru to disciple. Which Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, I think 18th chapters, maybe 75. Sanjay said, I've heard this Bhagavad Gita from Krishna. By the grace of my spiritual master, I saw the Vishwarupi. By the grace of my spiritual master, Vyasadeva. Although he wasn't present there at that time. But Sanjay was admitting it's by the grace of my spiritual master. So Prabhupada said there, this is the spiritual master is the transparent via media. Nice term, I think. Prabhupada must have coined this term first. The spiritual master is the transparent via media. But it is a fact that the experience is still direct. Prabhupada is in the purpose. The experience is direct, even though it's through transparent by media. Still, the experience of the devotee who's performing his devotional service through the parampara, through that he becomes a transparent by media, and but it's true that the experience is a direct experience from the devotee. And Prabhupada said, this is the mystery of parampara. So Prabhupada is telling us how we connect ourselves to Krishna by going through the parampara, by serving the parampara. And we get the spiritual master becomes transparent via media. So through this process, then we can attain Krishna consciousness by their blessings. So these are all aspects of the faith, why we have faith in Prabhupada. No one is near the comparison to Srila Prabhupada. But he is the one who's given us that faith, and now devotees all around the world, they're chanting Hare Krishna all day long, serving Krishna. A few years ago, they didn't even heard of Krishna. And all of a sudden, Krishna, 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 Krishna. Prabhupada describes in one purport, in maybe the Hamsa Guya prayers. Anyway, it's Prabhupada is describing how Sanatana Goswami He's saying that at the time of initiation into the Parampara system, one gets a spiritual body. And Prabhupada said, we have to accept this on the grounds of Shastra. Shastra says you get a spiritual body. So, but we don't see we get a spiritual body. We don't get suddenly 4 arms or anything like that. Seems like the same body, but Prabhupada said, no, you're using this example. Just as bell metal, when treated with another element, mercury, it turns bell metal into gold. So you can produce gold if you know how to do it. The devotee asked Prabhupada, can we do that? Can we produce the gold? Prabhupada said, first drink the mercury, which is poisonous. But anyway, we have to accept. And Prabhupada says, it's a fact that we don't see the subtle body, the gross bodies change. We're not getting another 4 arms or anything like that. That apparently doesn't appear to have changed so much. But the subtle body has changed. Mind, intelligence, and ego, because now it's all Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. And a few years ago, Krishna never came into my mind. Never spoke Krishna, but now it's all Krishna, Krishna. So we can see how the subtle body has changed. The subtle body now is only Krishna, 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 serving Krishna. So you can see, Prabhupada said, how actually the subtle body changes. Of the two, the subtle and gross body, the subtle body is more important. Because by the subtle body, you're going to get your new body, determine your new body, the activities in this body. So it's Prabhupada, so much philosophy Prabhupada gives us that we have to, the whole thing is based on faith in the philosophy. That's how philosophy is the basis of everything. So we have to have philosophy behind it. We have the philosophy behind it. So like that, then so Prabhupada installed in all these different aspects of Krishna consciousness, he installed his faith. And Prabhupada showed by his own example how he was enthused by his spiritual master. And he said when he read the Vyasatmika Buddhiya, Ekiha Kurunandana Bhavushakyanantascha Buddhayo Varashenam, in the 2nd chapter, maybe 43 verse something, Vyasatmika Buddhiya, that the intelligence, the focus should be single-minded, not Bahushaka, not here and there, everywhere. Situated fixed on one point. What is that one point? Not the nose, like the yogis would fix a point on the nose. No, that one point, Prabhupada said he was reading Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And he said, Vishwanath said that one point, single-minded determination, fixed on one point, means fixed on the orders of Guru. One should get the order of his Guru and he should make it his life and soul. He should worship that order because that's his ticket back to Godhead. Not only he should find the means and ways to worship that order, but to implement the order, but he should also worship the order. So this order of the spiritual master becomes worshipable because it is a ticket back to Godhead. It is very worth worshipping the order. So Prabhupada said, when I read this, it struck me. It struck me. And I remembered how my Guru Maharaj had given me instructions to print books in English language and distribute. So, and then Prabhupada said that Yes, he said that when I heard that, it struck me, and I made this aspect. I made it my life and soul. The order of the spiritual master, which should be made into your life and soul, and one should execute these orders as much as possible. So this is Srila Prabhupada's, the founder Acharya. He's showing by example. This is the example that Prabhupada gave, how he chose to become Krishna conscious, and it was a success story. He made the order of his spiritual master his life and soul, and it came out successful. So we can also make our individual Krishna consciousnesses on that same principle of making the order of the Guru our life and soul. And then this is the way, ultimately, we get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and Guru. Prabhupada said, the finishing touch in spiritual life, the mercy of the Guru. One drop of the mercy is the finishing touch. So we do our little bit to help somehow or another in this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how it's been given us. But ultimately, it's depending on that little drop, one drop of mercy from the spiritual master. Then, yeah, that's the secret of success. We can satisfy the spiritual master by our activities and assisting him to execute the orders of his spiritual master. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Is that okay? If you want, I can.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
If you want, is there any question, or you want to tell some Prabhupada's pastimes, is it?
Please feel free, Prabhuji, whatever you wish to speak.
How much time?
Well, we have time till 9:30. It's like 45 minutes we have.
Huh? What time are you?
We have 45 minutes.
45, yeah.
This is like, yeah.
Okay. Any question, or should I'll tell Prabhupada Leela.
Okay, so any devotees, they have any questions?
Okay. Prabhupada ki jai. Oh, Magyantim Dandasya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Garadha Shiva Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So, Sri Prabhupada. I'll tell the pastimes that I was more directly involved in. Anyway, I remember we were dressing Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Chandra and small Radha Madhava that in 1972. We had the first Gorpurnima festival in Mayapur. And anyway, we were worshipping small Radha Madhava and then Gauranga Mahaprabhu. And I used to put a peacock feather on Mahaprabhu's head because he is Krishna, he is Krishna himself. So some people were saying like Gaudiya Math people, why you put peacock feather on Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? So I asked Srila Prabhupada, I said, can Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wear a peacock feather? He said, yes, why not? He is Krishna. I said, some people are criticizing that he shouldn't be wearing. Prabhupada was very disappointed when he heard that. No, he did. He wasn't looking at they're not looking at what Prabhupada did, you know. They're these wretched people. Prabhupada just dragged them out of the gutter of material existence, and there they got dodis and tilaks and chanting Hare Krishna. They don't see this, they're just saying, oh, why he has peacock feather ways. Well, that was my understanding. Yeah, just as I see it like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, in all of his temples, he had Radha Krishna Gauranga together. This was unusual to have it set up like this. But apparently he did it because he wanted to show that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha and Krishna. He is Radha and Krishna. So not many people know that, only the devotees of Orissa and Jagannath Puri. Everyone else thinks Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just a great saint or something like that. He wasn't the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it appears that Bhaktisiddhanta had maybe one of the reasons he did like that, he installed Radha Krishna and Gauranga together so that people could understand that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna. Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nayanya. They are the same. So we were living in Mayapur after the first Gopani had finished. We were living in the Bhajan Kutir because that was the only building there. And in the winter time, they make these kajuras. You probably know what it is. From the date tree, they tap the date tree and get some liquid rasa. And then they boil it down and they make gur from it. Kajur gur. Very, very tasty. From Bengal. And so the devotees were taking this, because it's the season, winter season it's coming. So the devotees were drinking this, and the president didn't like it. So when Prabhupada came, he said, Srila Prabhupada, the devotees, they're taking these kajuras. And this is, it's like a very strong intoxication, Srila Prabhupada. It's just like whiskey. And devotees are drinking this. So Prabhupada said, oh, really? Really? So he was, he was showing some concern. But, the next day, the first day they told Prabhupada. So the next day, we were for darshan, and then Shruti Prabhu came with Prabhupada's glass of, and he had a glass of kajuras. So they offered to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada drank half of it. That's right. The first day, then the devotee said to Prabhupada, he said, Srila Prabhupada, they have this nice kajuras. We take a japa walk down the road, and there's a nice place, and they're cooking it down. We make it this juice. And it's very nice. And me and the devotees, we go and take that juice. It's very nice, Prabhupada. So, oh, really? You're drinking? So now Prabhupada had to make a decision. He had the management side, they wanted to stop the Kajuras drinking. And then, now the devotees also, they said they liked it. So Prabhupada, now he had to solve this controversy. So then the next morning, then Shruti Kirti came with the class of Kajuras and he gave to Prabhupada. Prabhupada took some. He said, it's very nice. Very nice. Kajuras. Then he said, bring me another glass, Shruti Kirti, because he had his glass. He poured into his glass into another glass. And he said, pass it around so all the devotees can get a little sip of the Kajuras, Prabhupada Prasad. All the devotees were happy, but Bhavananda, the management, he was really angry. He couldn't get his own way. So Prabhupada chose the devotees. Okay, get the devotees drinking. So time and circumstance, Prabhupada had to make some decisions. So when Prabhupada came, there was they put a big billboard on the side of the road. I mean, it was big. And it said, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. It spread right. So then when Prabhupada came to attend this, it was 1974, Gaur Purnima. When Prabhupada came to attend the Gaur Purnima, so then they drove up. And when he saw that big sign, he said, oh, he said, my God brothers, they were like that. So they did. And so these God brothers, they came to see Prabhupada. There's about 6 or 7, 8 sannyasis with their dandas, and they come in marching to see Prabhupada. They were shown into the bhajan kutir, and they all sat around Prabhupada with their dandas. Now we want to know, why are you using Prabhupada's title? He is your Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada, and you are taking his disciple and using it. This is not good for the disciple. We want some, we're demanding some actions. So anyway, they were speaking really heavy. I mean, the devotees, they never ever heard anything like this before. You know, Prabhupada was in the Western countries. He was God for them. He was treated like God. And here they're speaking very roughly to Prabhupada. We'd never heard it. The devotees were all getting disturbed. The big Brahmananda was there, you know. He was like Bhim. He wanted to jump up and smash. But Prabhupada saw that his disciples were becoming disturbed. So Prabhupada said, all of you go outside. The bhajan kutir. That was only made of chetai, bamboo, split bamboo. So we were looking through the slats in the bamboo so we could still see what was going on. And so then Srila Prabhupada, he called Pradyumna, he said, bring me my stationery. He said, so he had a stationery pad and the letter heading and the heading on the stationery pad. And so Prabhupada, they brought to Prabhupada, and he opened it up and he showed his godbrothers. He said, look, this is what I'm using. And it says, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. There's no Prabhupada there. He said, my disciples, they want to call me Prabhupada. It's not wrong. The disciple should use the highest terms of praise for his spiritual master. That's the duty of a disciple. So Vishnupad, Prabhupada, they're very exalted titles. So it's not wrong that the disciple should use those titles for these spiritual masters. So then all the sannyasis were there. Prabhupada defeated them. Okay. Then it became hugging and embracing each other. And Prabhupada said, there you go, brothers. With your God brothers, you can act like this, but you shouldn't imitate. Yeah. Who are not their direct disciples, they should not imitate that. sorry, not direct, have a direct relationship with their god brothers, but so their disciples shouldn't. But for the god brothers, it's okay. He said among them, they can talk like that. It's not their brothers, but we should not imitate them. So Prabhupada was very clever. So yeah, one time we were sitting in Bhajan Kutir and with Prabhupada, and then one owl or bowl with the ekatara, so the sadhus with all the hair and beard, and probably owl or bowl, and they have that gourd. They make little stringed instrument. So anyway, he came in at that time. There was nothing there, but he came in for a darshan, brought a mother with it, and he was dang 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 Om Jai Jagadish Hare Shiva Hari Om Jai Jagadish. Prabhupada said, "You know that song?" I said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada. I learned that when I was in Kashmir." He said, "It's Mayavadi. You go and stop him." And I was just a new devotee. And now I've got to go out and I've been living with the sadhus for the past year in India. I was traveling around India, living with the sadhus. Temple. And now I've got to go and tell him to stop singing. He's chanting the names of the Lord. It's very difficult. Prabhupada said, "Stop him." So I had to follow the order of my guru. Although I thought it's an awkward situation to do. Anyway, I went out and luckily that sadhu had just left, so I didn't have to tell him. But this is Prabhupada even singing their songs. They're not really Mayavadi. But, anyway, another time I was preaching. This was 1974. I was preaching to one man who came here, Calcutta, and then he started to talk about there were two famous personalities in Calcutta who had some mission going, and everybody in Calcutta loves these so-called sadhus, not mentioning any names. But they had the philosophy Chatupat. It doesn't matter what Jagi path, they're all one. It's all one path. So anyway, I was talking with the man, and then he started talking about these two people in Calcutta, famous people in Calcutta, supposed to be spiritualists. And I said, "Oh, they're Mayavadis. They have Mayavad philosophy. They're nonsense." I was new, so I was using some strong language. So anyway, I just kind of blasted him a bit. But I didn't know he'd just been up to see Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, he had a technique whenever I saw him in his room or anywhere, and people come to see him, he wouldn't just, Swami was giving blessing. He'd find out who they were, what do they do, and then somehow or another he would try to get them to do service. I mean, most people from Calcutta, if they had service in Calcutta, then he would find out what service they did, and then somehow or another he would try to get them to help using the service, or if not, they just help anyway to spread Mahaprabhu's mission. So anyway, I didn't know that he had been talking to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was trying to engage him in service, like he did with everyone. And he already had that conversation. So then a devotee came down from Prabhupada's room and he said, "Oh, Prabhupada's really angry with you." I said, "Why?" He said, you were blasting some guy for praising those two so-called sadhus in Calcutta." And he said Prabhupada was there, he was preaching to him. Prabhupada was preaching to him. He was trying to get him involved in his service. And now he went up there and he was complaining to Prabhupada. he was complaining. I spoke to one of your disciples, and he was very rude, and he blasted our saints in Calcutta. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, really?" He was very concerned, and he was angry with you. Oh my God, my spiritual life is finished. Prabhupada was angry. It's the very last thing I would ever wanted to make Prabhupada angry. He said, "You made Prabhupada angry." Prabhupada said, "They should be more sensitive." And then, anyway, the next morning, during Bhagavatam class, Prabhupada brought it up again. So we should know how to treat everyone when they come. We should know how to deal with people and things. And I thought, oh my God, he's speaking more and more. And I thought, I'm going to jump off the Lotus building rooftop. I really disappointed my spiritual master. And then Prabhupada was talking. Then he said, "But we have to tell them," he said, "they are nonsense. We have to tell them we have to tell them they are nonsense." And I had a big relief of that anxiety. And one time we had a Puri press machine. It was a new thing. It was like a novelty, and it was like 2 discs with a little handle on it, and you get some moida and you make a ball and you put it, and you pull the handle, and then it presses the puri, and then you have a wok with a ghee or something. You throw it in the ghee, the puri comes up, and then we had the kajur half, not the kajur date ras liquid, but it was liquid. It was sticky, like almost honey. It wasn't runny and it wasn't hard. It was honey. And nice taste. You eat that with puri. It was real sense gratification. And but it was more like a novelty. And we had a tarpaulin kitchen behind the bhajan kutir. We do the cooking, and so that was just thin bamboo wall. We could hear everything that was coming through. And I was sitting in the bhajan kutir next to Prabhupada at his feet, and we could hear all these sounds coming through. "Hey, give me a puri, give me a puri, give me another one. Hey, give me some rasa, give me some rasa." And Prabhupada, he was doing his writing or something like that. And then suddenly he looked up and he said, "No, they shouldn't take more than 2 puris. No, they shouldn't make not more than 2 puris." And he went down again and he was doing his writing. And then you could hear, "Hey, throw another one over here. Give me some more of that kajuras. Give me some more." Prabhupada looked up, got up. "No," he said, "not more than 3. He was really concerned. I don't know why. I thought at the time that that you know, if people come, what they're going to say here is, say, oh, this is how the Sahib sadhus act, is it? That they're eating luxury food, tourism and ghee, I guess, and go over. I know, I don't know his why, but anyway, after that, he came out of the bhajan kuti and he went into the kitchen. And Jaipatak Maharaj, he was the only sannyasi. There were others there, they weren't sannyasis at that time. And Prabhupada came in, but he said to Jaipatak Maharaj specifically that this is not, what did he say? This is not proper for sannyasi. So he gave him a mild chastisement. And maybe it was a mood of enjoyment because it was like a novelty thing. It was like a little party we were having. Anyway, Prabhupada, he had his way of doing things. His likes and dislikes. So Prabhupada gave me instruction there also in the bhajan kutir. And I was sitting by his side and Bhavananda was there. He was the manager, and mostly the managers would do the talking with Prabhupada because they had more to say and more to do. So I was just sitting there listening, and Prabhupada was talking to the Bhavananda. And then Prabhupada said to him, Bhavananda, that this boy Jananivas, he is one person. He cannot do everything alone. He is an ordinary person. He must have some help. Because I was the only pujari there. Radha Madhava were also sitting in the bhajan kuti. We were all living together there. But I was the only pujari, so I had to do everything from morning till night. And I loved it. It was all like that. But anyway, Prabhupada was thinking, concerned. He said he should have some help. He cannot do everything. He is an ordinary person. So then he looked at me and he said, so you should train up pujaris. He gave me an instruction. I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. What does he mean? We didn't have any books. We didn't have any mantras. Hare Krishna and Chintamani prayers. That's all we had, I think. And then he was talking with Bhavananda again. And then again he turned to look at me and he said, so you should train up pujaris. I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. I think I definitely would have forgotten. But then we were leaving the bhajan kutir, and I had one foot inside and one foot outside the bhajan kutir, and I heard, train up pujaris. You hear me? I said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, I think I would have forgotten. But 3 times he told me to. But we didn't have any books at that time. Once he asked me how you are worshipping the deity. So I started to give a step-by-step breakdown of what we do. The small deities at that time, small Radha Madhava. And yeah, we bring the deities down and we start to bathe the deities and polish them with the tilak and tilak paste, the brass deities. And Prabhupada said, what mantras are you using? I said, we chant Chintamani prayers, Prabhupada. So, no, Gayatri mantra we are chanting before. Oh, Gayatri. Om is there. Very good. Om is there. Very good. Vedic. So then I continued to explain it. And yeah, so then we polish the deities, then we bathe them, then we dry them, and then I used to say, then we dress them. And then Prabhupada said, at that time, which means they've just been polished, washed, and bathed and dried, they're naked. Nothing is there. At that time, Prabhupada said, at that time, he said, you should offer tulasi leaves to Krishna's feet. But it doesn't mention anywhere else in any padatis or anything like that. Offering tulsi comes after dressing and ornamentation and offering skanda and flowers, and at that time they offered tulsi. But Prabhupada said, oh, at that time. I took it to mean that now Krishna is just finished his bath, he's completely naked. What is the first offering we offer to Krishna? Tulsi, like Bhakti Devi. That's the way I took it. So Bhakti Devi we offer to Krishna first. But when Prabhupada was in Australia, he was installing deities there, he was supervising. And then they came to Prabhupada and said, we have tulsis, should we put them on cornetai? And Prabhupada said, you can put them in between the feet. Always had a perfect answer for all the questions. And how much time have I got?
We have time, Prabhuji. We can also take question and answers. So, like, how much time do you have, Prabhuji?
Oh, I can go on. Okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. So, you can speak for another 15 minutes and then we can have question and answers.
Okay. Okay. There were some famous Manipuri dancers. They were sisters. I don't know the twins. They were sisters, but they were famous in Manipur. And Gargamuni Prabhu, he brought them to Mayapur to put a show on for Prabhupada. So they started their dance in front of small Radha Madhava, and Prabhupada, he had some cushions and facing the dancers. He was sitting and then they started to do their Manipuri dance. And at one point it got very, very ecstatic, and there was Mridangas players there, Manipuri Mridangas. They were there, they had little white starched fans in their hair and all their dhotis pulled up with three places tucked in, and all this intricate Mridanga stuff. It was really good. And they were playing and playing. And the two sisters, I think one was Chandravali and one was Radharani. And at one point they started to circle each other and they were throwing that abir, that powder. You have Holi in Bombay, that program. They started to throw it up in the air and they were spinning around and around, and the song was going Chandravali, 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 something. And it kind of really got, the whole atmosphere became filled with this just pinky, it's like a pink atmosphere. Everything went pink. It's just hovering there. And they were spinning around and dancing this Chandravali, Chandravali. I remember that much. Probably Radharani also. But they were singing, and it just got ecstatic. And Prabhupada, because we were watching Prabhupada as well, most of the time. And yeah, it got really ecstatic. And we were watching Prabhupada, and then Prabhupada was watching, and he just stood up and he was clapping like that. And he became a little bit kind of self-conscious, and then he sat down again like that. He just went into a little he really appreciated what they were doing. He was there, I guess. He was there with Radharani and Chandravali, who knows? But anyway, he kind of was so absorbed in the dancing and appreciated it. I had another service for Prabhupada, which I would do when he was here personally. And that was offer frankincense, dhuna. He would offer frankincense. The idea was supposed to get rid of the mosquitoes. So I would go in Prabhupada's room every evening, just at Sandhya. And I have a big pot of coals, charcoals, and I had frankincense. I make it into powder so it gave more smoke more quickly. And I would have that pot of frankincense and a fan, little tall leaf fan. And I would go into Prabhupada's room, knock on the door, Prabhupada, frankincense, really, Prabhupada? And he would generally just nod his head like that, yeah. And then I would come in and pay my obeisances, and then I would put start fanning the coals and everything to give more smoke. And very soon the room became very thick with smoke, and I said, "Shall I open the windows, Prabhupada?" He said, "No, you can." He said, "Open the doors." No. See, in Bengal they have a system. They'll close the windows and doors, and then they'll put the smoke in the room for a little while. Yeah, they fill it up with, put the smoke in, and then they'll turn the lights off, turn the fan on, and open the windows and doors, and then immediately all the mosquitoes they fly out quickly. But Prabhupada didn't do that, and I was asking him, "Should I open the window?" No. You leave it like that. So, and sometimes it would hang around there for a long time. About sometimes an hour. He would keep the smoke there. And sometimes during festival, Purni Gopani, all the devotees came then, and I would come in, and Prabhupada would give a darshan at that time, so I would that was my service, I just come in. But all the devotees were, I think it was more or less psychological, because Aduna doesn't really make you cough, but I think they were coughing and the eyes were running with it. So they were saying, "Prabhupada, should we turn the fans on?" Prabhupada, open the windows. He liked it. So then one Shastriji, there were 3 Shastrijis who were studying the Rig Veda in Nepal, and they joined Prabhupada. They became very much attracted. One even got initiated by the Gangaram, I think his name was. And he asked, and Prabhupada very much liked them. He kept them with him for some time. He asked Prabhupada, "Can we teach your can we teach your pujaris some non-fruitive mantras?" And Prabhupada said, "Yes, you can do that." So he taught us the Purusha Shukta mantra, very famous mantra, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, very famous mantra that everyone chants. He taught us that mantra, and he said we can go with you when you have the smoke, and we'll chant the mantras. So we formed a little party, and I had the smoke, and someone had a bell, someone had his Ganga water, flicking Ganga water, and Shastriji, he had a conch shell. Now he knew how to blow that conch shell without stopping. He would blow it and fill his cheeks up with air. And he would blow and blow from his stomach until the stomach was finished. And then he would let the air out from his mouth. Simultaneously, he would breathe through his nose and get more air. So it was a constant, it never stopped. He could, and he played two together sometimes. So when we went into Prabhupada's room, because he was giving darshan, but we just kind of opened the Prabhupada frankincense, and we all go in, and there's bells going, and then there's smoke flying everywhere, and this conch shell is blowing. And Prabhupada's And everybody's a little surprised, and then Prabhupada's waiting. And he realized this, it's not going to stop because Shastri knew how to blow the conch shell. He wasn't stopping. Prabhupada was waiting, and he wasn't stopping. Then suddenly Prabhupada burst out laughing. Okay, buzz, enough. He laughed. And it became known as the Bhuta Puja. We would go around the building, the Lotus building, and all the different places. I would offer first in a deity room for Ranamata and then take it around. So the last time Prabhupada was here in 1977, I went to Prabhupada's room. He was alone that time. He was just chanting japa, sitting on his desk. He had his eyes closed. And he was chanting japa. And when Prabhupada chanted japa, you could hear the beats. They would click together like click, 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 click. Very softly. And he was chanting very softly. And I came in and same as usual, frankincense, Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, just nod his head. Then I would start to put the smoke everywhere. I directed with the fan. But first I would put it under his desk, but that's where the mosquitoes go. So first I would put it under the desk, and then it would just all come up around Prabhupada and into the room. And I was just fanning, and Prabhupada was chanting. Then he looked up and he opened his eyes. And he looked at me and he said, "This gives such an atmosphere of spiritual understanding." He said, "This is so nice. So nice." Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So all those years we thought that Prabhupada it was to get rid of the mosquitoes, but actually it was for he probably liked the atmosphere it created, such an atmosphere of spiritual understanding. So nice. Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't really much to do with mosquitoes. Prabhupada also told us to worship Shalagram Srila. This was the first temple in ISKCON. Prabhupada mentions in his books that where they have facilities, they should start the worship of Shalagram in our temples in ISKCON. So Prabhupada told the managers that you should start the worship here, Shalagram in Mayapur. So he says, see if you can get a Shalagram from some friend. So Jayapataka Maharaj managed to get a Shalagram. So we went to Prabhupada's room. I don't think we knew that we were coming. But anyway, myself, Babananda, and Jayapataka Maharaj. And Jayapataka Maharaj gave him the Srila. He said, we have the Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada immediately touched his head. And then Prabhupada started to do a little puja. He didn't move from his seat, and I don't think he knew we were coming, but just what was there, he used on his desk. So he had his Archman cup there. So he got his Archman cup, and he got water. He had water there in the cup, and he had the tilak was in a little pot. He made some tilak. Then he had a matchbox in his drawer, and he took a matchstick. And then he painted a little face on the Shalagram with tilak and little eyes, the lemon-shaped mouth, seagull-shaped mouth. And he was talking all the while. And he said, you should do like this. He put some little gopi dots. So you can do like this, but you do it nicely. He said in Vrindavan, he said the Brahmanas, they carry this Shaligram Srila. They go to one holy place, then they bring out, open the Srila, then they give mantra, then they put him back to sleep. They go to another holy place, open up, mantra, he's again sleeping. Go to another place, mantra, sleeping, mantra, sleeping. And he started laughing. He said, this is Shaligram worship, mantra, sleeping, mantra, sleeping. And he said in Vrindavan, you should offer Tulsi to the prime offering for Shaligram. So offer the Tulsi. He said, you pick Tulsi in the morning and you wash it, the Tulsi. Then you have a cloth, some cloth, you fold it, put the Tulsi leaves on the cloth, damp cloth. And then another cloth, a wet cloth, you put on top of that. He said, like that, the Tulsi will stay fresh whole day. Because Prabhupada was from Vrindavan, so it gets really, really hot, everything dries up. So I guess it's a tip what they do in Vrindavan, put a wet cloth over the Tulsi leaves. So when Prabhupada was dressing, then he took his garland off, his own garland, and he put it on the Shaligram. And he was talking, and then suddenly that garland, it fell off, fell down. And Prabhupada said, did you see? Did you see? Did you see? He said, you know the story of Krishnadas Kaviraj? He went for permission to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the garland fell off. Radha Madan Mohan. Remember? He said, this means he's accepting my service, you see? He's accepting my service. So, yeah, then Prabhupada, he had a little, he took his tila container and turned it upside down. It's like a little egg cup shape. And Chaitanya Maharaj had a couple of pieces of cloth from Shantipur they used for Shaligram, small piece. And Prabhupada folded it up and he sat the Shaligram on top, and then he made another little bit of cloth as a chadar, and he put it round. And he said, so you do like this, you make it nice. So then we started to worship the Shaligram Srila, but nobody knew what Shaligram Srila was in those days. Because Indians, they weren't coming forward. I don't blame them. Gaudiya Mat is there, firmly established, and they see the English Americans, and they don't know anything about spiritual life practically. So they were a little bit shy in coming forward in the beginning. You can't blame them. But anyway, later they took. So nobody knew what the Shaligram Srila was, because they were mostly white devotees, American and English. And Gopal Krishna was there. He knew. He said, the Shaligram Srila. Other people were saying, this is Narayana Srila. This is Krishna Srila. I was completely confused, bewildered. So I went to Prabhupada's room and I said to Prabhupada, can I ask you a question? He said, yes. I said, some people say that the Shaligram is Krishna and some people say he is Narayana. Prabhupada looked at me and he said, forget some say. But a heavy tone, forget some say. I think he meant it in the mood of, like the devotees were sometimes, they say Prabhupada's scientists over everywhere. They say, who is that? They say, what is that authority? I think in that mood, Prabhupada said, forget some say. So the way he said it was, I kind of bowed my way out. I didn't pursue it anymore because of his attitude. I left and I went. I didn't say anything else. Then 2 days later, he sent me a message. Prabhupada sent a message. He said, tell the Pujari he should give the bamsi, the flute, to the Shaligram. So indicating that Prabhupada wanted Shalagram to worship as Krishna. And then after some time we had more shalagrams and we had it on the altar, and then Prabhupada came Gopurnimra, probably 1975, 4 or 5. And then Prabhupada came for darshan. I had all these shalagrams that were there, and Prabhupada came with his walking stick. He was taking darshan of Radha Madhava. Then and he saw the shalagram was there. There was some new shalagrams that Prabhupada hadn't seen. So one of the shalagrams had a natural mouth. You know the shalagram. They have different lakshanas, chakras and things like that, mouths. So this one had a natural open mouth. So the one Prabhupada showed me on, he didn't have a mouth. Prabhupada drew one like M shape. So I copied that. This one shalagram did have a natural mouth. So I put the other mouth on top of it, like a little M shape, seagull shaped mouth. Tilak. So Prabhupada came and then he looked at the shalagrams and he looked at that. He said, why he has a mustache? Prabhupada was saying he had a round mouth and a little painted mouth on top. Why he has mustache? I said, no, it's not a mustache, Srila Prabhupada, it's his mouth. He said, no, Krishna doesn't have a mustache. I said, no, Prabhupada, it's supposed to be his mouth. You showed me to draw. No, he said, don't put mustache. Krishna, he doesn't have a mustache. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a nectarian, amazing, wonderful class. Especially hearing from someone who is so completely dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. Extremely grateful for sharing all these realizations and the pastimes of Prabhupada. So
Thank you for your invitations.
it's our privilege, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Okay, so Prabhuji, we have questions. The first question is from Alisha Mathaji. Thank you, Prabhuji, for this amazing class. It was very austere in Mayapur in 70s. Still you and Prabhu, meaning Pankajangri Prabhu, remained blissful in service. So how can we follow the same mood?
How we can follow. Mayapur is different from the rest of the world. So I was asked to come here in 1972. And I loved it here. Right on the bank of the Ganges. And everything was there. Prabhupada was coming, Krishna, the deities. I had total absorption in the deities. Because I was the only pujari. And we were living in the Bhajan Kutir. And this is the first time I've been close to deities. Because we were all living together. And I saw this pujari, whose name was Daksha. He's a French devotee. And because we were all living together, then naturally I saw him, how he was constantly absorbed in service throughout the day. And I was thinking, what a lovely way to become Krishna conscious. I really love that. I see that he's 24 hours a day absorbed in serving Krishna, cooking, dressing, bathing, all these things. Wonderful way to become Krishna conscious. I'd love to do that service. And 2 days later, the president said, this pujari is leaving. He said, you're the next pujari. So he made me the pujari. So I fulfilled my desires very quickly. So I was so happy to do that, and I could absorb myself. Just previous to that, because I was new, I'd been only joined a few months, and just prior to that, I thought this Krishna consciousness is fantastic. I don't think I'll find anything better than this. And every page it practically keeps jumping out, devotional service, devotional service. Why? Because you're a servant of Krishna. That's your constitutional nature. Service to Krishna, service to Krishna. Practically every page. And so that's all I was seeing as a new devotee. And I thought, well, I'll put it into practice. I'll just completely absorb myself in the service. And I give myself 2 years. And then after 2 years, I'll see what happened, if there was progress or no progress. And then I'll decide to do that. After 2 years, I wait. But this Krishna consciousness is nice. So I was waiting, and 2 years passed, and 20 years passed, and 40 years passed. And I remembered, that I made some statement. What was it? I made that I give him 2 years, but I forgot all about that I made this stipulation, whatever it was. No, the Krishna consciousness is so nice that you forget everything else. So that's the idea. If we remain constantly absorbed in service, we don't have time for anything else. And being situated in service, it means that's your natural constitutional position. Chief Rupa Nitya Krishna does. So naturally, everything will develop from that, just being in your constitution of servant and service. And serving Krishna light, automatically you become satisfied, and there's nothing else to be achieved. Nitya Krishna, we're eternally servants of Krishna. So again, we can follow Prabhupada's example of how he made the order of his guru his life and soul. So you can try to do that, and that will absorb your attention in the service. And bliss must be there if you're serving all the time. It's Krishna's nature. Hare Krishna. May Lord Nrsimhadev remove the obstacles in your path of pure devotional service. You may remain enthused. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for reminding us about that we are the servant of the Lord. Many times we forget that in the course of practicing bhakti. And so such a beautiful answer you have given, that we are always the servant. And Prabhupada also mentions devotional service repeatedly in his books. So thank you so much. Alisha Mataji, you have any follow-up question?
No, just wanted to thank Prabhu for the last statement. He said, may Lord Nrsimhadev remove all your obstacles. So that has made my day.
Lord Nrsimhadev likes to do that. He likes to serve the devotees, the Sankirtan devotees, Gauranga's devotees. Because in this way he gets some service for the Sankirtan mission. Even Lord Nrsimhadev is anxious for service. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Probably next question is, devotees would like to know if Srila Prabhupada said something in his books that seemed contradictory to the words of previous acharyas or not mentioned in Shastra, then should we accept Srila Prabhupada or the previous acharyas' Shastras?
Yeah, we should accept both. If you say one is wrong and one is right, we often, even the disciples of gurus, my guru is right, then your guru is, if he's right, then your guru must be wrong. There was a slight controversy. No, we understand they're both right. If we say one is right and one is wrong, we will make Vaishnava aparad. We see they're both right. From different perspectives, they'll be right. Yeah, they're all right. The acharyas, what they say, we have to accept them. For our own guru, that's you have specifically, he gives you instruction, that will be your main focus. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Another question from Sumit Prabhu. In one of the conversations, Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter that, "Are you Allen Ginsberg Guru?" Srila Prabhupada replied, "I am no one's Guru, but I am simply everyone's servant." So how to have the same consciousness and same intent as Srila Prabhupada, which is as a servant of the servant of servant?
Yeah, Prabhupada had it. It's the natural constitution of the soul. Yeah, he was talking with someone and they said, and Prabhupada said, no, he was talking about first class, second class. And the devotee talking to him, he said, no, you are third class. And Prabhupada said, no, I am fourth class. He said, because I am servant of the first class, second class, and third class. Therefore, I am fourth class. So, yeah, it takes humility that Bhavananda asked Prabhupada that how come Lord Chaitanya made this statement, that he's lower than the straw in the street. He's not. He's the source of millions of. He's not lower than the straw in the street. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how can he say that? Yeah, that's his question. How can Lord Chaitanya say that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's saying he's lower than the straw in the street? And Prabhupada said, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that because he could understand that I am 10,000 size the tip of a hair. That is my actual size. If you understand that, you will never become proud or anything like that, or lose your consciousness. Which of course Lord Chaitanya is also not. He's not 10,000 size the tip of a hair. But because he was playing as a Bhakta avatar, and then he was playing in perfection. So he was acting like an ordinary person. And so he was thinking that he's 10,000 size the tip of a hair. And Prabhupada said, when you think like that, you cannot become puffed up, you cannot be proud. And the further away you become servant of the servant of the servant, Prabhupada said, the more blissful it becomes. So like that, if you follow the process nicely, it's going to work. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come and establish this mission. Rupa Goswami, Raghunath, the Goswamis, and everyone, they all came. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Prabhupada, Siddhanta. They all come and did that. They're not fools that they're going to say something that's not correct or say something that's not fact. So the system works if you practice it. You put it into practice, you'll get the result. And the more sincere you are in putting into practice, the quicker you get the result. This was Haridas Thakur from Harinam Chintamani to Harinam Chintamani. Anyway, true devotees, they approach the Guru at the same time, they both get initiated at the same time. One is from Suchi family, from Brahmin family, the other one's Muchi, from a Kobla family. But they both approach at the same time and they both get the mantras of the Sampradaya and the service. Oh, who gets the fruit of his activities first? And he said it appears that the Suchi he will have the Brahman person, born Brahman, he will obviously have more Brahmanical qualification than the Muchi. So who reaches the goal first? And the answer was that one who is more sincere, he will reach the goal first. Sincerity is the criteria. If you are sincere, then you will reach the. So it's not dependent on anything but sincerity, because everything is a gift. Actually, whatever realization or revelation or any kind of enlightenment or knowledge that you have, it's a gift. It's descending from someone, from Krishna, from your Guru, from your guardian angel you may have. But these are gifts, they are coming. Everything is a gift from above, spiritually. Yes, anyway, it's the whole new consciousness, Krishna consciousness. It means everything is working, it's in order. They just simply follow the instructions of the acharyas. Dedicate ourselves to expanding their mission. Try to have a missionary spirit. Yeah, and everything becomes revealed. That's what the acharyas have given. They've given everything. If you put it into practice, then it will be, the revelation will be there. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Sumit Prabhu, do you have any follow-up question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, one more question is there regarding this. Sometimes we take Prabhupada as granted, means based on what Prabhupada says in his purport, in his letters, the whole context, the essence, what Prabhupada says, sometimes devotees take as a fanatic, means out of the whole context, they take one particular words in a purport, from purport and letters. They say that this is that Prabhupada said this, then that Prabhupada said this and that, and they create a whole story, and out of that they make their own propaganda, philosophy, mental speculation. So how to make ourselves so conscious that um, this was the intention of Prabhupada, where Prabhupada said this, and and how to understand how Prabhupada, that this is not a fanatical, and we should understand the mood of Srila Prabhupada, and how not to take Prabhupada as granted. So please enlighten. Thank you.
Prabhupada, he would say one thing to some devotee and then another thing to another devotee. Everybody knew that. His disciples knew that. Sometimes he would, for Grihastha, he would give some instruction, tell him something. For the sannyasi would say something else, which was contradictory. So time and place, circumstance. it is there. And Prabhupada knew how to use that time, place, circumstance. He said it's very difficult to create a spiritual world in the material world, a spiritual organization in the material world. This is the world of differences. So there's always going to be a difference, but yeah, it's going to be there. And see, that's why the books are the basis. Letters and everything like that, or personal talkings with Prabhupada, that is more specific for specific instructions for specific persons. That may differ quite a lot, but in Prabhupada's books, there you don't get those different controversies, I don't think. I never look for them, if there are any. But there are actually. Prabhupada said everything's in my books. So some people who want to find things, they'll find it. Because Prabhupada said, everything's in my books. You want to find something contradictory, you can, Prabhupada will arrange it. Or someone will arrange it. But the idea is that, well, my idea was you put your blinkers, the horse has a blinker. Horses, they sometimes have something here to stop them seeing side to side. So like that, a devoteeship can be like that. Put your blinkers on. So you don't say this, he said this, Prabhupada said this. Where is my service to Krishna? Where is my service to Guru? That's what we need to see. You have to avoid all. It's going to go on. It'll go on forever. There'll always be differences of opinions. But that's not why we came to Krishna consciousness. We can see the positive aspect. So you have to put your blinkers on. That's what I did in my devotional service. I'm not saying you should do it. But at least when you're in that situation, you can do it. Yeah, or leave the situation somehow or another. It's not, and anyway, nothing's really important in these controversies. It's nothing drastic. It's not going to disrupt the whole society or anything like that. Maybe little minor changes or little minor so-called controversies. What do? We're going to spend our whole life worrying about here's the books. Everything is in the books. You don't get these controversies. Just stick to that what's positive, the books. What Prabhupada said in his book. Anyway, if you're not a manager, don't worry about it. If you're a manager, something else, you have to take some action. But if you're not a manager, then you just leave it up to the managers. You have plenty of service to do. Why make a big thing about it? You have your service, you have Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a practical answer and to the point. It was really nice to know that ultimately service to Krishna is the most important service to Guru and Krishna. And unless and until we are managers, we can't do anything about it. So better to focus on that. So Prabhuji, we have one last question by Swati Mataji. Thank you for all the amazing pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. What is the most important quality one needs for deity worship, which Srila Prabhupada mentioned?
Rupa Goswami said, faith, which is how we started our class, was faith, implicit faith in importance. Srila Prabhupada. But anyway, come back to faith. Rupa Goswami said faith is the only qualification in the beginning. As that faith grows more in faith is the most is the criteria for deity worship. Rupa Goswami. Faith is the most important. Is the what's the word? Faith is the qualification. That's the qualification for deity worship. Is faith in it? You have to have a faith and attraction for Krishna. Then everything will evolve from that. Then we belong to a society. There is some rules and regulations, so you have to go through that. Second initiation, to get taught the process of deity worship. So faith is the beginning. What was the other part of the question? The second question? Or the last part?
The most important quality one needs for deity worship.
Yeah. Right. Prabhupada said that two qualifications that he used to stress more than this, more than anything else, is that cleanliness and punctuality. He said if you have your temple schedule very fixed, everything is punctual, and everything is kept very clean, automatically everything will flourish from that. So that's the basis of the deity worship. Tip-top cleanliness and punctuality. Then everything else will fall into place. So the practical, Prabhupada gave this as practical application. Cleanliness and punctuality. Okay.
Okay, Swati Mataji, you have any follow-up question?
Hare Krishna, Danvat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Danvat
Hare
Pranam.
God.
Hare Krishna. So, is there any pastime that you remember with Srila Prabhupada, which he mentioned about deity worship, that you exclusively you have to follow for you, instruction for you, Prabhuji, regarding deity worship?
Regarding deity worship. But instruction from me.
Yeah, which Srila Prabhupada gave to you regarding deity worship.
Yeah, that was, he said you should train up the pujaris.
Yeah.
So now we have a lot more information. But that time we had not much in the way of mantras and things like that. And procedures. Yeah. But so I tried to make that the order of my guru, my life and soul. So I dedicated myself to serve the deity as much as I could.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the nectarian class, especially all the Prabhupada pastimes. I do remember that I've read all these pastimes in the Prabhupada Memories by Siddhanta Prabhu. And to hear it personally from you, that was definitely very blissful and very purifying also. So we are extremely grateful and honored to have you. And we also look forward to have you again whenever possible. Thank you so much for your time. And kindly pray for us so that we all can also develop that kind of the mood of dedication and surrender to Srila Prabhupada and do something for his preaching mission.
May Krishna fulfill all your desires to assist in this movement. Back to Godhead, back to home. Very old.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So all right,
Okay.
devotees would like to greet Prabhuji, then they can unmute themselves and they can.
How many devotees here? Anyway, it's not important. Okay.
Okay, I'm not able to hear any devotee's voice, although they have unmuted, but are you
Thank
able
you
to hear
so
Prabhuji?
much.
Yeah, now.
Thank you so much, Jananivas Prabhu, for such a wonderful class.
Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for your wonderful question. Your wonderful answer to my question. You answered so amazingly. I'm so much thankful to you. I'm grateful to you. And please pray for me so that one day I can be a servant of your servant of servant. Always to you. Always to you.
Haribol. Oh,
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, this is Nirvika here. Thank you. It was such a wonderful class. I'm sorry I joined a bit late, but whatever I heard, it was very. It's something I'm going to remember for a long time, and I hope I can implement some of the things that you have mentioned, especially with respect to your pastimes with Srila Prabhupada. I hope I can imbibe some of those things in my life as well. Thank you so much. All glories to you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Okay. I got to try and switch off. I don't know. I'm computer illiterate.
Okay. So Prabhuji, you can see the end icon below. Yeah. So there is an end icon below on the right side.
What?
The end icon for logging off.
What?
You'd like to log off, right?
Yeah. Pankajanga told me to put the arrow in the corner and kick it off.
Oh yeah. Well, there is a end icon at, on the right side bottom.
Leave. There's a leave.
Leave. Okay. Leave.
Hare Krishna. I'm probably going to lose you any minute. Haribol.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare.
See you in Mayapur when you come.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji. Sure.
Haribol. There it is.